But a lot of folks miss the mark of an effective small group right from the beginning because hospitality just isn't there. And you're racing around trying to get everything read before everybody gets there and get your notes prepared, and you miss the chance. My wife is an expert at this. She puts the site around 45 minutes before people walk in the door so the entire house smells good. I know that sounds a little bit maybe over the top, but you're creating an experience where people are walking into your home and you're meeting them at the door, you're taking their jackets, you're showing them where they need to be, you're greeting them so they feel welcome. There's a sense that something, that this evening is not just a normal night at a Gumlinson household. This isn't what we do all the time. And it's a chance not only for you to welcome them into your home, but it's a chance for you to begin to teach other people. There are other leaders that are going to come to your house this winter who will lead groups in the future. And you're setting a tone in your group of saying, this is important. For us, it's always around the kitchen, and we have just a couple little things to be thinking about. Are the lights on in places where people know where to go? Are you showing people so they're not awkwardly like waiting to go to the bathroom to the end because they don't know where to go or something like that? That you're constantly meeting and seeing the needs of people in your home so that they feel as if they're in their own house. And it may seem like a little thing, but it's huge for people, especially if they're new to faith community, maybe they're new to life group, that you're just taking some little steps to be mindful. And just thinking about how your space, we start in the kitchen, we spend our time fellowshipping there, and then we have a formal space that we've set up in our living room. And if your house isn't situated in such a way for people to be moving around in there, move your furniture around. And make a space in your home somewhere where people can be. I've seen some life groups meeting here this fall, and just want to encourage you that life groups really, we talked about this a little bit this afternoon, if you're meeting here as a life group, talk to your group, find somebody who has a home that you can meet in that's not in this building, so that you can teach people what it is to invite people into your home. And what this does is allows for them to go, if I can bring these people into my home, maybe I can bring a complete stranger like my neighbor into my house. And if you're doing that here, you're not as able to be hospitable in this building. I know this sounds a little weird, but a classroom doesn't offer the chance to be as hospitable as someone's home does. And I ran into a gal and I was kind of giving her a hard time. I said, what are you doing? I know you're hospitable. She goes, I don't like to clean my house. And I said, maybe you should think about that. And not in a rude way to her, but just for the sake of saying, I care enough about you to have you into my house. That these relationships mean enough to me that I'm willing to take it a step further and open my door for you to do that. So just be thinking about hospitality. Talk about that if you're leading with your spouse or whoever you're leading with. And my wife and I prepare the food a lot. We're teaching these young people that come to our house what it is to bring food for a group and to be thinking about other people. So hospitality. The other thing to think about is what your time frame is going to look like for the evening. We always meet for 2 hours as a group, and we always are intentional to spend some time just hanging out on the front end, spending a good amount of time on the study, and then always taking time at the end to do a significant time of sharing prayer requests and praying together. And the reason being is, and then even some hangout time after. Some of the times these guys don't ever leave. We're going to work on that, but that your time frame says that it's bigger than just this material. That we care enough to spend time together, we care enough to spend some time in the study, and then we really care about praying for each other and loving on each other at the end. And you can rearrange that schedule however you see fit, but don't feel like the study has to drive your evening. If you get into an opportunity where there's good conversation happening, maybe take care of that and spend more time doing that on the front end, or spend more time in the prayer in a significant hard week for people, even if the study is jeopardized a little bit. So the other thing to think about is questions. Bill's got some great materials in your books for icebreaker activities. What has changed the dynamic of our group every time, and we have a couple groups that meet at our house, is that question that I ask on the front end always sets the tone for the night. And you can have fun with that. You can play a game. You can do some of the stuff Bill said. But if you can have a question that helps them to maybe share a little bit about their week, or it really seems to set a different tone. That when you move from the kitchen into that space, you throw that question on the table, you're right there and you're ready to go. And there's great books of questions. There's spots online you can find some of these icebreaker type questions. Try to avoid the really cheesy ones sometimes. And maybe go after a little bit deeper. And week 2 or week 3 or week 4, ask something more significant about their lives that they could be sharing about. And that's valued time. The other one is personal sharing. I don't know if you've done this in your life group before, If you haven't done this, it may be really valuable for your group to say, we're going to give every couple an opportunity to share maybe their story, how they came to know Christ. If that's uncomfortable, how did you meet as a couple? How did you get to be who you are? How did you get to Hudson? Some way of allowing each couple 1 week to say, here's a little bit more about who we are. And you watch the connections happen as people start to share their story a little bit. Somebody across the room goes, oh, and then the game begins of how they're more connected. And for many of you, this may be stuff you do anyway, but some people would look at a typical group and say, personal sharing, there's just not time for that. We have to get done with this study. And if people know each other's stories, they're able to enter into each other's lives a little bit more seriously. And the last one is prayer. My small group met together all summer. We didn't do a study. We just met and had fellowship during the summer, and we prayed. And I had one girl in my group, she was just going crazy. She said, what are we doing? And near the end of our time together, she said, I see now. We shared a meal together, we played together, and we prayed together. And we prayed for a long time. 35, 40 minutes sometimes, sitting on our deck, praying together and praying for each other and really listening to requests and not just quickly writing them down and emailing them out, but really praying together, laying hands on each other. And that group dynamic changed dramatically by the end of our time together because we valued caring enough for someone's life. We weren't just there to get some material done, and she was really mad at me for it. But at the end, she said, I understand. And that group still now says, can we get back together? Can we still be a group? And I said, no, go lead group. So just a couple things on the tail end of that to think about. You will have a lot of people who will push back on this. If you change some of the dynamics, they're gonna look at their watch and they're gonna go, why are we wasting time? And if you're gonna really be a life group rather than a Bible study, it has to be more than just getting through some material. It's sharing life together, it's crying out to God on behalf of each other, it's laughing together, it's eating together, it's being in each other's homes and creating a space for that to happen. Be comfortable with silence. Man, there are some long moments on Saturday nights. And I'm tired, and I ask a question at the beginning, I put it out there, and nothing. And 40 seconds feels like it's 4.5 hours. But sometimes that silence is the building block for a foundation for something deeper. And so be okay with that. And the last thing is time. You may try this out and go, oh, this doesn't work for our group after 2 or 3 weeks. Sometimes this will take 9 or 10 weeks to get to at the very end. But if they get to the end of their study and they go, this was more than just a Bible study, you may have really changed the way they understand things. And if they end up leading a group or being a part of another group even, and they bring this dynamic to the group where they're asking questions or praying or sharing their stories, there's a lot more value that happens than just being in material. So, any questions on that? You may actually get a friend out of this. Maybe we'll All right, thanks.
So what we said we wanted to do tonight was to talk to you a little bit about mechanics, help you understand the material a bit. Tim talked about that, about the nature of what this parable is about, and give you something to be thinking about in terms of skills to help you in your leadership. And I want to make one comment and then ask for some input. And one of the things that I find myself really valuing in what's going on in this session in particular is that we're studying one parable and only reading about 130 pages. And when we get too content-centered, it can really get in the way of dealing with issues of the heart and transformation. And so one of the real upsides about taking one parable over 6 weeks and so few pages of reading for those of us who tend to like to read is that it can help this not be so much about information but about transformation. And that as leaders we want to be more concerned about the heart than we want to include the heart along with the head. And our tendency in the evangelical circle is to be head-centered. And so we really want to be working on that.